Hello, everyone. I'm Nasser Ali Afza, and this presentation is a brief account where we would explore what is scientific writing and how it should be approached. The aim is to enable the listener to become a successful scientific writer. The presentation would cite my personal experiences, my own examples from my own publications, and a reflection where the important points will be discussed regarding the one's journey to become a successful scientific writer. So let's start. All right, so we still continue with our original question, how to write a scientific paper. The this part of the presentation is focused on results. All right. Now, this is something which most of the time the junior researchers or the novice researchers would be more interested in. But spending many years in this field and publishing and being rejected and then accepted, I could tell you, yes, results are very important. Of course, this makes the entire, the whole point, isn't it? But I think the the background, the introduction, and methodology is probably more important than results, because if you don't find a result, if you don't find something which you're looking for, and your scientific reasoning and adopted methodology was correct, whether you find significant results or you don't, in either case, you find something. All right? If you find a difference, yes, that is something to be proud of. If you don't find a significant result or difference between the groups, at least others may be saved from the same problem and hassle in conducting or repeating those experiments. So again, results, negative or positive, they are important. And within the results, one should, I would say, ensure to include the characteristics of the study participants. For example, the demographic data, the population distribution, how many were males, how many were females, how many adults, children, how many of this particular ethnicity, how many of those particular ethnicity, what is the geographic location. For example, it depends what type of data you are collecting. And then the clinical features, the social features, and so on. And also the information on the exposures and confounders. All right, so how many the studied population were exposed to, and with the identified confounders or effect modifiers listed already, how many actually belong to that particular subgroup? Now that's important to understand. One should also make it clear to indicate the number of participants. All right, and should also mention the missing data. Okay, so number of participants, absolute numbers are, I think, more important and more preferred by many journals and reviewers, because this gives you really a more realistic idea. Yes, you may always include the percentages, but percentages sometimes are misleading. So that's one of the reasons why it's a good idea to include or to indicate the actual numbers of the participants in each group and subgroup. And I have also seen there are many journals which will encourage the scientific writer, the manuscript author, to include a flow diagram of methodology in the results. How many were eligible? How many were included? If there were some exclusions, what were the reasons of exclusion? What stages, and so on. So, inclusion of a flow diagram is highly encouraged. if possible. And regarding the results, one should always give the unadjusted estimates, because that's important to understand to get a holistic idea, and should also include the adjusted estimates if that is more relevant. All right, as well as the precision level. That is, for example, 95% confidence interval. Now, many of the researchers I see, they keep the unadjusted estimates and just, superficially include the numbers and just, finish the part, which doesn't actually give you a good idea as a reviewer. So, unadjusted estimates are, yes, they are important, that the raw data, but also make some effort to include the adjusted estimates as well as the precision levels, for example, the 95% confidence interval of whatever estimates you have. If you are interested, just find out, and all the proper citation of this particular article is already given. If you remember, this title was the one which I used to give you an example of the titles as well. So yes, this is the same article. All right. So in this part, we focus on the discussion of the manuscript, where after you have um, obtained the data, collected the data, now you would like to understand what this data actually infer and what really are the implications, what to do next. So this all has to be taken into account within this particular part of the manuscript, the discussion. To start a discussion, one should always mention the key results with reference to the study objectives. Well, to start with, we decided to see blah blah blah, and then you need to say, and we found out the salient features. Then one should be able to discuss the advantages as well as the limitations of the study, and don't shy away when you mention the limitations. Always be critical. The reviewers really appreciate it. Otherwise, you will get a long list of comments and objections. So advantages, yes, there are. Everyone would have a tendency, especially the ones which are more novice writers, they would have a tendency to focus on advantages and missing out on the disadvantages or limitations of their studies, and that becomes a problem. The reviewers would they have left with no choice but to raise more objections. So be honest, and along with the advantages, honestly include as much limitations of your study as possible. All right, this actually, as a reviewer, I would say, when I see such a description, as a reviewer, my uh, my confidence with the authors actually gains a lot, and then I become a bit more sympathetic and more considerate as compared to people who are more focused on right things rather than the limitations. Then, as a human being, all reviewers are human beings, man, and they may be biased against these type of behaviors and practices. That's why, and also include potential biases. Biases. Mentioning biases, yes, you must include a potential bias, whether at the data collection level, at the analysis level, whatever. So potential bias. One should also thoroughly compare and contrast the results with existing scientific evidence. What scientific evidence is aligned with your results and what is against your results? Sometimes you may be the only whistleblower, so don't shy away. If you are looking different than the rest of the bunch, well, and everything else is fine, just be confident and go ahead and mention it. So after adopting to this approach, one should be able to discuss the generalizability of the study results. Yes, within that particular cohort, within that particular group of patients, you were able to decipher the information, the outcome, the implication, but how much generalizable those results could be in other populations and similar data in other patient groups and so on. And then based on this, once you have everything in front of you, one should be able to identify the future research directions informed by the study. What are the loopholes? What are the next bunch of questions which have resulted or remain unanswered from this study? Well, that becomes the basis of the future study. And of course, a good study will generate more hypotheses, right? So as someone said, scientific studies yield more questions than answers. So at the end, one should be able to draw a final conclusion purely based on the available results and considering the limitations. Please, always, yeah, just always mention the limitations, because that becomes the basis of the future directions of research. Now, here is another one of my articles already published, and here you could see quite an elaborate discussion where we had a bunch of markers to explore in terms of a particular cancer type and survival and outcomes. And yeah, the full reference is already given. If you're interested, it's this freely available article. You can download it and read it. And don't shy away to communicate with me or any of the co-authors regarding the outcomes and any further questions. So thank you very much. We are thankful for your interest in the presentation. If you have any further queries or any points you would like to discuss even in much more detail and depth, don't shy away to write your comments, your questions to the email address given here, and I'll be happy to answer all of them. Thank you so much.